Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My mom turned her guest room into a nursery after I told her she will never meet my child. After that, am I the jerk for burning my mom's diaries because I want nothing to do with her? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take someone's dog. But I deserve it! So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My mom turned her guest room into a nursery after I told her she will never meet my child. I am currently pregnant with my first child, and both my mom and stepdad have been terrible to me and my partner the entire time. Told us we would be unfit parents because we aren't married yet. Legitimately screamed at my partner for knocking me up, even though we planned the pregnancy. I finally decided to cut contact with them a few months ago after I found out I was pregnant. Having a child can already be a stressful time, and having them around to make it worse was not something I was okay with. If they can't be nice to my partner, then they don't get to see our baby. Plus, they are the kind of people who don't wear masks in public and actively choose to be in large gatherings with no social distancing, so them seeing a newborn is out of the question. One day I sent my mom a very detailed email of why she is not allowed to be a part of my life anymore and will not be seeing her grandchild. To make things even better, I also noted that we will be moving across the country shortly after she is born to be closer to other family members. So not only is she cut off, but we are literally moving far away and never coming back. She responds by showing up at our house at 11 p.m., screaming outside our door about how it's her baby and she deserves to be there for it. I tell her to buzz off, and eventually she leaves. Months go by, and she will text me randomly asking about technical problems with her Wi-Fi router or something and needs help. Little things like that don't mean much to me, and I sent her the info she needed. My cousin also had a virtual baby shower and sent my invitation to my mom's house accidentally, so my mom came by to give it to me. Things slowly came to a point that we were fairly amicable with each other, but I still stood my ground about our boundaries and nothing else had changed. She knew this. Then she sends me a video today that blew my mind. She redecorated her entire guest room to be a nursery. Crib, changing table, $400 worth of newborn clothes, toy chest, stroller, a car seat for her car, and the list goes on. In the video, she is in tears saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe my baby is going to be here soon. This is where she will sleep, where I will change her diapers. These would be her toys." Is she psychotic? Her baby? Sleeping and living at her house? What? So I call her up immediately and I reiterate that we are still moving across the country soon and that she will have no contact with the baby before that. Her response? "Oh, okay, we will see about that." Genuinely confused. What part of "you will have no contact with this baby" does she not understand or thinks will change in the next few weeks when she's born? Is she planning on stealing her from us? I am at a loss for words. Edit. Wow, so many great tips from you guys. Thank you for the advice. I showed my partner the comments I've been getting, and I think we're starting to take this more seriously, and we'll be contacting a lawyer on Monday. I wanted to mention a couple things to clarify as well. I have been seeing a psychotherapist the past few months strictly due to the relationship I've had with my mother throughout my life, and all of that is documented. My midwife and hospital is also very aware of the situation and the emotional stress I've been going through. So we will definitely be utilizing this in the case that she tries to sue us or call CPS. Also, due to what's going on, only my partner is allowed to be with me during the birth anyway. We will be keeping things hush until after we move. We would have moved months ago if it was financially possible for us. We also spent a lot of money on my birth center here that is non-refundable. She is due in August and our lease ends in September. We already have everything set up to move and the other family is helping us out. Just a waiting game at this point. My partner is the power of attorney if something happens to me during the birth. We are currently in a state that is against grandparents' rights. The only way she would be able to sue for visitation is if both myself and my partner were deceased. Even after we move, she still cannot file for GPS if she is living in this state. What would you do if you were in this situation? And what would you say to the entitled grandma? Please let us know. She deserves to see that baby. Am I the jerk for burning my mom's diaries because I want nothing to do with her? You can probably guess that I had a strained relationship with my mother. She had an affair while married to my dad, and she ended up leaving my dad for her affair partner. My dad was a good man before the affair, but he took it hard and allowed it to destroy him. I was left to play son and parent to him while my mother started a new family. It was hard to watch her play mom to her new kids and pretend like I didn't exist. I might occasionally get a call from her, but she was so busy raising her new kids that she didn't have time for me. It was also hard to understand why those kids had so much more than me. We were poor, and why she was okay with that. As I got older, teens, she did try to reestablish a relationship with me, but I wasn't interested. She was still trying to mend fences when she died last year, but I will at least give her credit for trying. She tried very hard to have a relationship with me, but my heart was too hardened for that to be possible. One of the things she left for me was her diaries from the time she was a teenager. She also left me some letters she had kept over the years and some writings. Her hope was that I would read them and get to know her better. She wasn't expecting me to forgive her, but it was her way of trying to make up for the years when we had little contact. My siblings knew about this and asked if they could make copies once I was done with them. I didn't promise them anything. Those diaries sat in my study/home office for many months. I didn't want to read them, but I felt like I needed to do something. It was a friend of mine that suggested I burn them as a catharsis, which is what I decided to do. I went over to his place one weekend and we burned all of it. He was right. It did make me feel better. I feel like I now can be done with her forever. When my siblings found out about it, they were upset. They told me that I had no right to do that, and if I didn't want the diaries, I should have given them away. But I told them that they were mine to do with as I pleased, and I had every right to burn them if I wanted. My wife said she agreed with them and thought my decision was spiteful. She said she felt like I might have even wanted to do it so my siblings could not have the diaries as a way of punishing them. She also feels like it could have been an opportunity for healing as a family that is now lost. My wife bases her opinions on the fact that I didn't discuss my plan, with which she thinks is because I knew she'd urge me not to do it. I don't agree with her take. I did this because I felt like this is what I needed to do to move on from the situation. But am I the jerk? Well, what do you think? Was this okay or not at all? Please let us know. Oh, I just love burning things. Am I the jerk for making my son make dinner after he insulted his sister's cooking? My daughter, who's 15, has recently taken up cooking and baking. Our oven sucked, so we got her a new one as an early birthday present, and we just needed one. She's been baking non-stop and recently started making us dinner because my son and I are working hard to redo our backyard. Think building a shed and hardcore gardening. Since she's inexperienced, my daughter started out with a really easy recipe that involved frozen vegetables. The dish was great. The carrots were a little underdone, but I thought that just gave it a little extra crunch and didn't say anything. My son, however, has always made fun of his sister and comments on everything he sees her doing in the kitchen. While eating dinner, he said something along the lines of, "Some poor excuse for cooked vegetables," which made my daughter upset. She takes criticism to heart, and this comment kind of crushed her pride. I told my son that his comment was unacceptable and that he should be grateful that he had a fresh meal ready for him when we decided to take a break from the yard work. I also told him that he should make dinner tomorrow since he thinks it's so easy. Now, some things about my son. He does very good, hands-on kind of work, which is why I have him out with me doing the hard labor in the yard. He hates cooking, and since my husband is a very good cook, he expects his dad to do the cooking for him. I sometimes worry for when he goes off to college and doesn't know how to make anything for himself. When I told him that he had to make dinner tomorrow, he complained and said he didn't know what to make. I didn't back down and told him to think of something. After dinner, he approached me and asked if I actually expected him to make dinner. I said yes, it's only one meal. I'm sure he can come up with something. He complained again and said he was sorry for the comment he made. My husband thinks I should just let it go, but I think this would be a good learning experience for him. I'm sure my daughter would appreciate her work being taken more seriously too. So, am I the jerk? Edit. I want to mention a few things. This is not a gender thing at all. My daughter bakes and cooks because she wants to. We have never pushed it onto her as something she should be doing because of her gender. She picked it up herself last year. I do believe that my son should know how to cook before he goes off into the real world. It's just been hard when he actively rebels against anything cooking-wise. I will not back down from this. Thank you for your support. Edit. The oven being a birthday present was my daughter's idea. I didn't word it correctly in the original post. That's my mistake. Our old oven was on its last legs, and she was the one who begged my husband to buy a new one. My husband had been holding off on it because of money, and no one used it enough to warrant a new one until recently. Since she is the one to use it the most, and she's the one who went out with her dad to pick it out and make sure it was perfect for her as well as my husband, she dubbed it her birthday present. It will not be the only thing she receives for her birthday, and we had already picked out all of her presents before the oven. So what do you think? Should he have a go at making dinner himself? Do you think it would help him be a little more appreciative? Please let us know. I don't blame him one bit. I love complaining about things too. Why don't you just buy a bunch of pens and put them all over the house? You got it, babe. So my husband works from home and has a very tidy office. I work in a lab and so can't usually work from home. And since our house is small, I never really set up a workspace for myself. And to be honest, I'm not the most organized person, so usually my belongings are found scattered all around the house. My husband once turned around the car when he realized that he forgot to make the bed, so my messiness is a challenge for him. Anyway, one day a few years ago while my husband was out, I had to sign something, couldn't find a pen in my bag, and so stole one from my husband's desk. A few hours later, the following conversation occurred. Husband: Hey, did you take the blue pen off of my desk? Me: Oh yeah, sorry. I rifle through the stack of crap on the kitchen table until I find it. Here you go. Husband, slightly irritated: I wish you wouldn't take my stuff. You're always losing things. Now I'm a little huffy, because while it's true that I lose things from time to time, we're talking about a 1-pound Papermate, not a Mont Blanc. Well, you're the only one with an office full of office supplies. I don't even have any place to keep my own stuff. Husband: Well, why don't you just get a bunch of pens and put them all over the house with the rest of your stuff? Then even you'll be able to find them. And then he stalked back to his office. Okay, fine. I think, let's do it your way. I hop on Amazon and, oh look, 10 pens for £5. Let's get 3 sets in each color, plus a few pen holder cylinders and a pack of Sharpies for good measure, because you can never have enough Sharpies. Add to cart and confirm. The next day, my Malicious package fortuitously arrived while my husband was out of the house. When he returned home, he was greeted by a lovely bouquet of pens in the entryway. He was soon to discover a similar bouquet in the kitchen, on the mantle, table at the top of the staircase, bedroom dresser, and bathroom cabinet. This is a small 2-bedroom house, so pens had suddenly become the primary design motif. His only comment was an exasperated, "Really?" To which I just grinned in reply. He did move the one out of the bathroom, but the others stayed where they were, and actually were pretty handy. I have not needed to borrow any of his pens since, so I like to think we both won. Can I talk to someone who knows things? Like a man? This popped into my mind recently. I used to work at a retail tropical fish store, and weird as it is, we were very well known. We used to provide the aquarium with rare fish, and people used to drive from 2 to 3 states over, if they were true fish people, to come buy from us. I, at the time, 17 female, was an expert in tropical fish and koi. In fact, it was my job that summer to be the koi and outdoor pond point person, and my job was not only stocking the ponds, but managing all of the plants, caring for them, and knowing every bit of information and all of the prices of the various koi and goldfish we had. I knew diets, temperature ranges, places of origin, special breeds. I knew it all. They would even call me with questions on my days off. That clearly did not matter to one customer though. He came inside the store and asked for some help with koi outside. I happily agreed as I was the only person not on my lunch break. Now, this guy frankly seemed put off by me offering to help. So instead of buying anything, he decided to quiz me for 20 minutes about the koi, goldfish, and pond plants to try to get me to admit I didn't know something. I answered every single one of his stupid questions. Some were really stupid. And at the end of 20 minutes, he had the nerve to say, "Can I talk to someone who knows things? Like a man?" Full emphasis and tone on those words too. "Sure you can," I say with a fake smile. "Let me get John for you." Here's the malicious compliance. John, name changed, was 75, retired, annoying as heck, and crazy. My boss didn't even want him to be hired, but he owed John a favor. Now, John is an expert in goldfish, but he hates koi and outdoor ponds. John also, like I said, is really annoying and crazy, but he had a soft spot for me, so we always would chat. I went inside to find John and explained to him that this customer wanted a man to talk to. John asked me why he wanted to speak to a man when I was the pond point person, and I told him that he clearly just didn't like that he was speaking to a girl. John nods knowingly, gets this evil grin on his face, and goes to help the customer. 5 minutes later, I hear a man yelling in the parking lot, I run outside and find the customer screaming at John. "What is wrong with you? Does nobody know anything around here? I will never come back. You're all horrible and know nothing about fish, and you're a terrible employee," or something to that effect. I watched the guy hop into his car, slam the door, and drive off. I asked John what happened. He said, "Oh yeah, no, every time he asked me a question, I said, not sure. Good question though. I could go get OB and ask. She's really our pond expert." And apparently, he did not like that. Customer, if you read and remember this, forget you. Thanks for reading. Have you ever had a pet fish? If so, what kind were they? Please let us know. I used to love flushing goldfish down the toilet when I was little. Am I the jerk for not wanting to babysit my sister's kids? We've got me, 25, female. We've got sister, 24, female. We've got mom and dad, who are 58. So, I am bi, and when I was 17, I had a girlfriend. My sister found out by accident, and after begging her not to tell my parents, she didn't. And then, on my birthday, she told my parents. Long story short, I was kicked out and disowned, and my lovely aunt took me in and cursed out everyone in my family for doing that. That year was honestly heck for me, since my sister then gossiped about it at school. Thank God my friends didn't care, or I would have gone crazy. So when I was 19, I broke up with my girlfriend after a year and found my now husband, and I got a house, so everything is good now. So when my family found out I had a then boyfriend, they were happy I finally turned straight, which then made me yell at them and told everyone to never call me. So a few days ago, my sister called me like everything was okay and asked me to babysit her 2 kids. I declined immediately. She started begging me, saying that she needed to shop and needed a day off, and asked me why I was being so difficult. I told her that she was the one who made my 17 to 19 years difficult and that she should buzz off and hire a babysitter. She then started yelling at me, saying that was like 8 years ago and that I shouldn't be holding a grudge, and then yapped about how family is family. I told her to hire a babysitter and hung up. My husband supports me for doing that, but now my family have been calling me and saying I'm being unreasonable. Am I the jerk? It's been like 8 years, so that's why I'm asking. Edit. She has apologized to me. Sorry for not adding that in, but it wasn't genuine. It was, "Sorry for doing that. You know I suck at secrets." As you noticed, we don't talk. Edit to address some things. 1. When my life was finally on track and I had a happy life with my boyfriend, now husband, my parents reached out to congratulate me being straight again. I told them to buzz off. My sister also reached out, and we did talk before she told me that she was sorry about it, and that I should have known secrets are not her forte, which was a big lie, by the way. She waited till my birthday to tell my parents because we didn't have the best relationship, really. So I've avoided her, and it's obvious she feels no remorse. I asked her if she felt any remorse, and she told me that she did the right thing because I would not have become straight had she not made me cut off. So her calling me out of the blue is strange, since I hadn't talked to her for months really before. The reason I have not touched the block button is because I would rather be in contact just in case an emergency happens. I don't really know why. Guess it's because I just want them to genuinely apologize. Entitled Mom's debit card doesn't work, claims I broke it. As many of you in the US are aware, and possibly outside the US, but I digress, most bank cards have a square chip at the bottom of the card. It's supposed to be an added security measure or something, along with a normal step on the side for swiping. Most stores have a chip reader added to their machines, but some still don't. This happened a couple years ago at the King of Burgers in the drive-thru. We hadn't had a chip reader installed at the time, so people had to swipe their cards using the strip on the sides of the card instead of inserting their card to the chip reader. One day, this entitled parent came up to the drive-thru with 3 kids in the back seats. They're pretty irrelevant to the story, beside the fact they were there. She was at the pay window, and when she handed her card to me, I noticed it was snapped along the strip. I informed her that the card won't work. She snapped at me to just use the chip. So I explained to her that our machines don't have a chip reader. Entitled Mom: "Well, just try the strip. You should have a chip reader. This is ridiculous. What kind of place are you? How am I supposed to feed my kids?" I obliged to show her that it wouldn't work. I swiped her card and it read on my computer as an error. So I again informed her that we would not be able to use her card because the strip is snapped. So I began to hand her card back to her. Without saying a word, she glared at me, snatched the card out of my hand, and pulled out of the drive-thru. I just kind of shrugged and forgot about her and got back to the other customers behind her. A couple of moments later, the phone in the manager's office rings. My manager is wearing a headset as well, so she can help take orders when the rush starts, so I can hear parts of the conversation. Not to mention, the back area at this particular store is about 500 feet max, so we're all pretty crammed together as is. Entitled Mom starts going off on my manager about how I refused to take her payment and that I snapped her card in anger and called her names. My manager was able to hear my side of the interaction at the time because of our headsets and just simply told her that she knew what really happened. Entitled Mom started demanding a corporate number, but to be honest, I think my manager was done. She just said this specific location was privately owned and that the owner will be informed before hanging up on her. Kinda anticlimactic, but I was grateful to have my manager shut that down real quick. I've had managers take Karen's side before at other jobs, but that's why I hate customer service. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for sticking with my dumb ramblings. Am I the jerk for correcting my boyfriend's family on his name? I've been with my boyfriend for 8 years. I'm 28 female, and he's 27 male. I've always known him as Joseph or Joey. His family have known him as Josephine. He only came out to them last year, despite identifying as male for several. They're fairly close-minded people, his family, and don't really understand, but they're tolerant. Ignorant, but tolerant. They occasionally call Joey a nickname. Josie. Cute nickname, but it bothers Joey. He won't speak up about it anymore, as he's done so in the past and has been ignored. He's told me it's not a big deal, and that they're set in their ways. He doesn't want it to be a big deal. Well, Joey's mother recently posted a picture of Joey at a family meal, captioned with the names, and she called him Josie in the picture. Once again, Joey told me not to say anything, but he was crying over it. So I commented and explained to everyone on Joey's mother's Facebook that she doesn't have a daughter, Josie doesn't exist, and it's Joey. Apparently, now a bunch of Joey's mom's friends have called her out and don't want anything to do with her for the problematic behavior towards her own kid. But now, Joey's father wants nothing to do with him while we're together for embarrassing Joey's mom. Joey's extremely upset and has called me selfish because he didn't want to make this a big deal. I think since we are partners, it's offensive for me too, and it hurts to see the disrespect. Am I the jerk? Well, what would you have done in this situation? Would you have spoken up about it or not said anything? Please let us know. Entitled Mom wants me to give her one of my dogs. Okay, so up until this happened to me, I thought most of the entitled parent stories were BS. But this happened to me, and I've started believing a lot more of the stories here. This happened to me a good few months ago. My landlord was selling the house that me and my family lived in, and we couldn't find a house that we could afford to rent because we had to move out. So we ended up moving in with my aunt. My aunt lives pretty close to the center of a small town, 8,000 people, and there's a gate to the back garden beside her house. You can see somewhat into the garden through it. My aunt has 2 dogs, tiny chihuahuas, and I have one, a Beagle Dalmatian mix. She's chubby. So we had 3 dogs living in the house. When the dogs are bored, they love standing at that little gate and barking at people who walk past. One day, I was home alone. My sister was at school and my parents and aunt were working, so I was in the kitchen, cooking dinner for my family while the dogs ran circles around the garden and barked at everything that moved. This also sucked, because there was a vet's office directly beside us and the vet's parking was behind the office, meaning that anyone who brings any animals into the vet could be seen from our garden, which means they would be seen by the dogs too. And every single time they saw anyone bring in an animal, they went crazy. This meant that it was completely normal for the dogs to be barking like mad. I heard a knock on the door, and I assumed it was my dad coming home from work early or coming to pick up something that he left at home. I usually lock the door when I'm home alone, and he often forgets his keys. The door wasn't locked this time, but sometimes he rings the doorbell without even checking if the door is open. I unlocked the door, and there stood a lady, we'll call her entitled parent, with her kid in tow. The dogs were standing at the gate, absolutely losing their minds that someone dared to stand in front of their house. Then the following conversation happened. Paraphrased, this conversation happened a good few months ago, so I don't remember it very well. Entitled parent: "Hi, sorry for bothering you." I had shouted, "Just come in," at them in Polish earlier, since I thought it was my dad. She probably thought I was getting angry about someone ringing the doorbell. Her apologizing for bothering me made me think she was gonna be nice. Me: "Oh, hello. I saw you have puppies in your garden. They're very nice." Me: "Oh, yeah, they are. My daughter really liked them." Me: "Oh, I'm glad. How many dogs do you have?" There's 3. Could you give us one? What? I'm sorry, no. It looks like you have a lot more than 3 dogs in there. You could give us one. She's smiling, but her eyes are starting to look a lot less friendly. Me. No. There's just 3. Are you sure? If you're going to be selling the puppies anyways, you can give us one. Me. Sorry, miss, but they're all grown dogs. I have no puppies to give you. Goodbye. I start closing the door. Goodbye. They're very nice dogs, she says as she starts walking away. The ending of the conversation was awkward, though it wasn't this abrupt. I don't remember exactly how the ending of the conversation went though. She didn't drag it out nearly as long as she could have, but that last, "they're very nice dogs," freaked me out so much that I kept the dogs inside for the next few days and only let them into the garden while I was standing there, watching them. It was also crazy to have some lady knock on my door and try to convince me to give her one of my dogs. This one isn't too crazy, but I still thought I'd share. Thanks for reading. Hope you have a good day. What would you tell someone if they knocked on your door and asked for one of your dogs? Please let us know. I wouldn't even have asked. I would have just taken the darn thing. Are you colorblind? So I live within walking distance of a ski resort that has a village. I ski, I eat, I have friends there, so I am usually a few times a day at minimum, even when not skiing. One very busy Saturday morning, I was walking through the village, saying hi to friends and employees while walking so I can meet a friend for breakfast. Don't ski on a Saturday unless that is the only day you can. And I'm just avoiding the rental line when I hear an "Excuse me" behind me. Thinking nothing of it, I just keep walking along until someone grabs my shoulder. I spin around to see this really upset-looking Karen. Now, as skiers usually know, at most mountains, all employees wear the same brand of clothing, sometimes all the same color, sometimes 2 to 3 different colors, depending on which department you work in. I am wearing the same brand of clothing, but not in a color at this resort. Karen: I need you to help me get my kids past this stupid rental line. They have a lesson in 20 minutes. Me: I don't work here, just walking to meet a friend for breakfast. You obviously do. I saw you talking to other people who work here. Me: I am here a lot, so obviously I know people here, but I do not work here. I know you do. You are wearing the same clothing brand just like everyone else. Grabs me: Come help my kids. Me, pulling away: Get your hands off me. I do not work here. Find someone who does, but I doubt anyone would want to help a jerk like you. It's your fault that you got here so late. No one else's. Walking away. I am going to find a manager and get you fired, you jerk. Good luck with that. I'll be at this restaurant if you want to humiliate yourself further. Everyone in line was looking at her. I walk off towards my destination and run into a friend who works at the mountain, rushing in that direction. Me: Hey friend. Friend: What's going on over there? Sounds like someone was upset. Yeah, some woman thought I worked here and went off on how she was going to get me fired because I won't help her. I'm sure she will be looking for a manager. I would avoid her at all costs. Friend: Probably a good idea. Let a boss deal. Friend heads back to where he is supposed to be handing out trail maps and answering questions about 300 feet from the lady. I head in and get 2 bar stools for me and my buddy. We get coffee and breakfast and are catching up. About 30 minutes after sitting down while we are eating breakfast, I hear, Over there, that's him. Karen comes over, grabs my shoulder again and spins my bar stool, spilling the coffee I'm drinking all over me and my friend's breakfasts. She is there with the manager of security. Manager of security whose kid happens to be besties with my middle kid. Karen: This is the rude jerk who wouldn't help me. You need to get him fired. Me, staring daggers straight into her eyes. Wait for it. I did actually say this. Security: He doesn't work here. He lives here. Well, you should ban him for being so rude and calling me a jerk. Me: If the shoe fits. You are the one who should be banned from here. You have grabbed me 3 times now. The 3rd time you ruined mine and my friend's breakfast. You really are a jerk. That totally set her off. She was spouting that she was here on vacation and deserved respect for all the money she was spending for her family. Security: Now, we don't like to ban people here. This is a place where everyone should be having fun. Now, if you pay to replace the breakfasts, and calmly leave, we can all just go about our days. This guy is super chill. Karen.
There is no way I am paying anything for someone who called me a jerk.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask you to leave our property immediately.
I can't do that. I have to wait for my husband and kids to finish skiing.
Security. That is not an option. You need to leave now. This is private property.
This is not private property, and I am not leaving.
Security. Moves dial on radio. I need you to come to the restaurant.
Oh, are you calling some buddies? I see how all of this works. You are all just friends here, aren't you? And you just hate all the tourists. I pay your salary.
In walk two of the local sheriff deputies. They always have a couple at the mountain on the weekends in case of accidents, drunks, etc. They're not usually needed this early in the morning. They walk up to security and he begins explaining the story. Karen.
They are all lying. They are all friends and just protecting each other.
Bartender. I saw her grab him. You can also watch it on the security camera if you want. Police. You grabbed him?
I only grabbed his shoulder to get his attention.
Me. 3 times, with a total grin on my face. Police. Grabbing someone with intent is assault. Would you like to press charges? Me. Actually, yes, I would. Karen starts screeching as they grab her and cuff her up. Luckily, she didn't put up too much of a fuss. I was going to decide to drop the charges after I watched her get perp walked through the village. So, with bartender holding our seats and the kitchen remaking our breakfast, which would be 15 to 20 minutes, my buddy and I followed the 2 sheriffs and Karen getting walked in cuffs through the village with thousands of people watching. Busy weekends, we would get at least 10,000 skiers and boarders. The restaurant and where the sheriffs park are on almost opposite ends, so we had to pass the rental shop. Cue new character. Cool Dad. Cool Dad. You are the guy from earlier. What happened? I explained the situation and told him I was waiting until she was in the sheriff's SUV to tell the sheriff I had changed my mind on pressing charges. I told him she really needed a lesson and hopefully this would be a good one. He asked where I was going to be after he got his kids to their lesson. Late. We told him. I walked over and let the sheriff know I changed my mind about not pressing charges and anything else is between him and security. Buddy and I headed back to the restaurant and shortly afterwards Cool Dad shows up. Cool Dad. I cannot apologize enough for my wife. I remember this verbatim. When one little thing does not go right, the world has to pay. Not just me and my kids, but the whole world. Do you guys want a drink or a shot? I sure as heck need one. So a couple of bloodies and shots later, my buddy and I have become friends with Cool Dad. Turns out, Karen doesn't even like skiing and just sits reading a book while he and his 2 kids ski, but always insists on coming to the mountain and wearing her really expensive ski clothing to look the part. The reason Karen was on the warpath and they were late to the mountain, she couldn't find her favorite hat at the condo that morning. Ran into him and his kids later that week and did some laps with them, and they took me and 2 of my kids to lunch. Whole family was cool except for Karen.
If you enjoyed this video, here's another one you are going to love. It just popped up on the screen, so come watch this one next, and we'll see you when you get there. And huge shout out to Spuds, our newest official channel member. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Join as a channel member today, and we'll give you a special shout out on a next video. And if you'd like us to make a special video for you or a loved one, come visit us on Fiverr. Link pinned in the comments below.